You finally got that raise, a $10,000 increase, a moment you waited for, celebrated. And for the first few weeks, it felt like everything changed. Nicer groceries, maybe a weekend trip, a new phone you deserved. But fast forward 3 months, and your bank account looks exactly the same. Somehow, you're back to zero. Not because you spent recklessly. You just adjusted, subtly, automatically. The $4 coffee became daily. The apartment, slightly bigger. The clothes, slightly better. The restaurant, slightly fancier. You didn't plan to spend more. You just did. And now the raise is gone, absorbed into a new normal. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's invisible until it owns you. Every new dollar finds a new purpose, not because you need more, but because your habits silently stretch to meet your income. You earn more, so you live more. Or at least, that's what you tell yourself. But in reality, you just increased your monthly burn rate. And when life happens, job loss, medical bill, economic dip, you're back at the edge. Again. Because most people don't upgrade their thinking. They just upgrade their bills. It's not a money problem, it's a pattern problem. And until you change that pattern, no raise, no bonus, no promotion will ever feel like progress. It'll just be more fuel for the same fire. So before you ask, how can I make more? Ask, what am I doing with what I already have? Every raise feels like a reward until you realize you bought another prison. When Thomas got his annual bonus, he felt like he had finally made it. 5 years of pushing, overtime, missed birthdays. Now he could breathe. First thing he did? Upgraded his car. Traded in the old Honda for a sleek new BMW. Black, leather interior, dealer financing, 0 down. He walked out of that showroom taller. Confident. I've earned this, he thought. But 3 months later, the glow had faded. The monthly payment was higher than expected. Insurance nearly doubled. Every little scratch became a source of anxiety. He stopped parking near others. He stopped driving long distances. The car that was supposed to represent freedom now felt like a cage. And that bonus? Gone. Eaten alive by his new reward. That's the illusion. We mistake income for permission. Permission to spend, to upgrade, to display success. But what we often buy isn't freedom. It's obligation. New house, higher mortgage, new school district, higher taxes, better clothes, more pressure to maintain the image. You think you're moving forward, but you're just adding weight. Every financial step up becomes a lifestyle lock-in. And now, you're not freer. You're just more dependent on that next paycheck. You can't quit. You can't pivot. You can't breathe. Because your bills have become your boss. This is the quiet trap of middle-class ambition. You earn more, so you spend more, which means you need more, which forces you to work more. And freedom keeps moving further away. They call it growth. But it's really leverage. The more you own, the more you owe. And no one tells you this at the beginning, that every yes to something new is a quiet no to your own flexibility. So ask yourself, what if your income grew, but your freedom shrank? What if the real cost of success isn't money, but movement? You're not buying things, you're buying feelings. She didn't plan to spend $200 at Target, but after a brutal day at work, a passive-aggressive email from her boss, a traffic jam, and a fight with her teen daughter, something cracked. I just needed a break, she whispered, standing in the checkout line with scented candles, 2 throw pillows, a new pair of shoes, and some just because snacks. It wasn't about the things, it was about the feeling, a sense of control, of escape, of reward. In that moment, swiping the card felt like relief, a small rebellion, a moment of peace. But when the bags hit the car seat and the adrenaline faded, she was left with the same stress, now $200 lighter. This is emotional spending, and it's more common than most admit. We're taught that money is math, income, expenses, savings. But in reality, money is emotional. It's how we self-soothe, how we reclaim power after a bad meeting or numb the void of an empty evening. A dopamine hit here, a treat there. But unlike actual healing, it never ends. Because the moment wears off and the problem returns, so we swipe again. Repeat until broke. And the worst part? You don't even notice it happening. Because it's not about logic, it's about habit, tied to feelings you've never named. Until you heal the emotion, the spending won't stop. You can budget all you want, set goals, cut subscriptions. But if your nervous system is trained to equate spending with safety, it'll keep pulling you toward tiny purchases that add up to major regret. True financial change doesn't start with cutting coffee. It starts with asking, what am I really buying when I hit add to cart? Comfort, validation, escape? When you name it, you can start to replace it, not with shame, but with strength. Your bank account isn't lying, it's revealing. Open your banking app, scroll through the last 30 days. Don't look at the numbers, look at the patterns, the takeout, the subscriptions you forgot about, the random Amazon splurges, the gym membership you haven't used since spring. These aren't just transactions. They're data points of your identity, a mirror of your impulses, your fears, your dreams, and most of all, your contradictions. You say you want financial freedom, but you keep choosing convenience. You dream of investing, but you're bled dry by daily indulgences. You promise to budget, but swipe for things that numb the pressure for one more day. Your habits aren't random. They're stories. And they're telling the truth. Meet Marcus. He always talked about getting into real estate, watched hours of videos, followed finance influencers, said, "One day I'll buy my first rental property." But every month, his bank statement told another story. $400 on food delivery, $150 on weekend drinks, $300 on gadgets he didn't need. Every dollar was a vote, not for his dream, but for distraction. And deep down, he knew it. "It's like I'm eating my goals," he said. The dream didn't die, it was just slowly buried under convenience. And that's what most people miss. Your money doesn't care what you say, it reflects what you do. And what you do, consistently, is who you become. So ask yourself this. When you look at your spending, who do you serve? Comfort, status, or freedom? Because money, like time, always flows toward your priorities. The problem is, most people never choose those priorities consciously. They inherit them, imitate them, or react to stress in silence. But when you finally look, really look, at what your money is doing, you stop living in denial. You start living in design. Because if you want your finances to change, your identity has to shift first. Not the one you talk about, the one you fund. They sell you success, but what they're really selling is dependency. You grow up thinking the finish line is more money, more rooms, more upgrades. It starts subtly. You get a raise, and suddenly your current apartment feels too small. You move to a nicer neighborhood, new furniture, better schools, higher taxes. Then come the cars to match the house, the after-school programs, the vacations you deserve. Before long, your calendar is full, your bills are stacked, and your freedom is gone. Not because you were irresponsible, but because you followed the script, the one that says, if you look successful, you are. But the truth? You're exhausted at a higher level. Take the Johnson family. 10 years ago, they were scraping by. Small apartment, second-hand clothes, one car. They worked hard, pulled ahead. Today, they live in the suburbs, drive SUVs, their kids go to private school. From the outside, it looks like the American dream. But inside, they're anxious, tense, burned out. Every dollar is spoken for. The mortgage is tight. The lifestyle requires both parents to keep climbing. No pauses, no pivots. "We thought we'd made it," the husband said, "but we just bought a treadmill we can't get off." They didn't escape poverty. They just upgraded the pressure. That's the trap. The system tells you success means upgrading everything, but every upgrade increases your dependency on your job, your income, your image. And the worst part? It feels like progress. You think you're building security, but what you're really building is a glass house with no exit. So here's the question. Are you buying success or renting stress with nicer furniture? Because if your lifestyle owns you, it doesn't matter what you earn. You're still not free. You're not bad with money. You're just following someone else's script. We like to think our money decisions are logical, that we weigh options, compare prices, do what's best. But most people don't manage money. They relive it. They repeat patterns they never chose, stories they never questioned. Your money script didn't start with you. It started when you were 6, watching your parents fight over bills. When you heard your mom say, "Money doesn't grow on trees." When your dad worked 3 jobs but still said, "We can't afford that." Those words became rules, unspoken, unexamined, but powerful enough to shape a lifetime. Meet Daniel. Every time he got paid, he spent it within days, not recklessly, but instinctively. Nice dinners, gifts, quick experiences. "I don't trust money to stay," he admitted, "so I use it before it disappears." Where did that belief come from? Childhood. His father was laid off twice. His mom stretched every dollar. Scarcity was normal. Now, even with a 6-figure income, Daniel lives like it's all temporary. He's not bad with money. He's just stuck in a story that says, "You never know when it'll be gone, so enjoy it now." And the result? He never builds anything long-term, because deep down, he doesn't believe the future is safe. The hardest part of money isn't math, it's memory. And until you confront the script you're following, no amount of budgeting or advice will stick. Because your nervous system will keep pulling you back into what's familiar, even if it hurts. So how do you change it? Not by guilt, not by cutting everything, but by rewriting the story. Choosing new beliefs, creating new rules. Not, "I can't afford that," but "I choose what gives me value." Not, "Spend it before it's gone," but "Build something that lasts." Your money behavior isn't broken, it's programmed. And the good news? You're the programmer now. Wealth isn't what you earn, it's what you keep and how it works for you. The turning point isn't when you earn more, it's when you start treating your money like a team. Every dollar gets a job, a purpose, a direction. Most people never reach that point. They live in reaction, paycheck in, expenses out, hope in between. But the wealthy think in structure. Their money doesn't just sit, it moves toward freedom, investment, leverage. And that shift doesn't require millions. It starts with one decision: to stop measuring success by what you spend and start measuring it by what you build. Take Mia, 49, a single mom who used to live paycheck to paycheck. She started splitting her income into 3 categories: life, growth, joy. Life was non-negotiables: rent, food, utilities. Growth was for investments, courses, savings, a small side hustle fund. Joy was guilt-free spending, coffee, books, travel. For the first time, she saw where her money lived, and more importantly, she started paying herself first, even if it was just $50 a week. 1 year later, she wasn't rich, but she was in control. She had a $5,000 emergency fund, a side business bringing in $800 a month, and, for the first time in her adult life, no credit card debt. That's the shift. Structure isn't restriction, it's design. It doesn't mean you never enjoy your money. It means you decide what enjoy really looks like. Freedom, stability, options. When your money has a system, you stop fearing it. You lead it. And the truth is, it's not about how much you earn. It's what you keep, and how you make it work while you sleep. So before you chase the next raise, ask, what if I built a system that made raises optional? If you never define enough, you'll always feel poor. There's a moment no spreadsheet can calculate. When you stop and ask, what am I chasing? Not the number. The feeling behind the number. Security, peace, pride. For most people, more is the default answer. More money, more square footage, more vacations. But more is a moving target, and the closer you get, the further it runs. The truth? If you never define enough, you will always feel behind. Because in a world built on comparison, poverty isn't a bank balance, it's a mindset. And freedom doesn't begin when you finally have more. It begins the moment you know what's enough for you. Meet Carla. At 50, she walked away from the race, sold the house that drained her, downsized to an apartment she loved, canceled the upgrades, the noise, the pressure. She didn't retire. She reclaimed. She realized that her peace didn't need to cost $10,000 a month. It just needed quiet mornings, a freelance schedule, and the ability to say no without guilt. She wasn't giving up. She was waking up. Her definition of wealth shifted, from image to intention, from performance to presence. For the first time, she said, I feel rich, and it has nothing to do with the money. That's the secret no one markets. Freedom starts when you decide what's enough, and stop needing more to feel worthy. Enough is clarity. Enough is power. Enough is the line between living and constantly reaching. So ask yourself, not what you want, but what you already have. That could be enough if you stopped outsourcing your value. Because you don't get rich by chasing more. You get free by choosing enough and building your life around it.